Is the road ahead of you clear? Or does the path between where you are and where you want to be contain some dark patches of uncertainty? Steve would like to recount the symbolic run-in with just such a patch. Please help me welcome Steve Myers, the dark patch, Steve Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Who has children here? Who just has bags in your eyes so it looks like you have children somewhere? Children are a difficult thing to teach. They're malleable, but they're not by any book. You have to figure out how to get to them, how to get into their mind, the depths. My children rejected team sports as if it were a conspiracy. Not soccer, not baseball, nothing team. I just couldn't get them involved in that. So I have failed teaching them what those wonderful things that can be learned through team sports. My oldest daughter, though, enjoyed gymnastics as a child. When she was little, 3 and 4, we did gymboree, which is the parents get involved and they're tumbling around on little mats in your socks and doing somersaults with them. And it was fun. As she took lessons as a child, I'd sit in the observer booth and watch. And now as a teenager, she wanted to go back to it. She kept talking, when I go back to gymnastics, So I called her, let's go back to gymnastics. You're 15. The window for getting back to gymnastics is pretty narrow here. Don't procrastinate. So she goes back and she wants to get a friend to go with her. Well, she's looking for a friend who will commit to go with her. She can't find it. Finally, a cousin decides to go with her, a 22-year-old cousin who always wanted to do gymnastics and never had the opportunity. So she decided to go back and do gymnastics with my daughter. They take the gymnastics first semester. I sit in the observer's booth. I watch it. I applaud them. This year, my daughter goes to gymnastics. The 22-year-old cousin is studying hygienistry, if that's the right word. So she doesn't want to risk hurting her hands and wrists. Okay, so she drops out. My daughter balks. Oh, there's no one to go with me. So for support, I said, daughter, I will go to gymnastics. Now my first concerns were for the other parents who were sitting in the observer's berth to see this middle-aged guy out there amongst their 8 and 9-year-old children, that you hate any kind of to be besieged with the assumption of a pedophile out there. And I found that the gymnastics building, the only one that would take adults there, they consider you in liability. It's like the advanced age. These kids are supple and they can bounce and twist, but the grown-ups they're scared. They'd put me on the floor and they'd say, all right, Mr. Steve, we'll just do somersaults today, okay? And easy, nothing tricky. Week after week. Finally, can I go to the trampoline? The trampoline looks fun. All the kids are doing it. Okay. All right, they put me on the trampoline. And it's, okay, Mr. Steve, let's just jump up and down today. No tricks, okay? Don't worry about me hurting myself. So as I've gone along, I've taken upon myself little challenges here. And this has been a great bonding with my daughter. We go there, we have treats, ice cream afterwards. Until it hit me. I'm not getting anywhere with this. That's life experience. This is my first gymnastics class. So I decided to undertake doing a backflip. Now a backflip on the trampoline, it shouldn't be too, you stand here and then you thrust backwards and your feet go over your head and you land, okay? For some reason, which I found was due to my childhood trauma, this was just an impasse for me. As a 20 some odd years ago, I'm jumping on a trampoline, doing a backflip. I fly off the trampoline, my feet go through the wires, I'm hurt. And so it just got ingrained about some kind of fear. This is going to be painful. And so I would get on the edge of the trampoline pit, scared to jump, but not liking that sensation of being propelled. I would sit there and just stare and I would just get myself into this horrible, twisted pit of all the things that could go wrong. And I would just freeze week after week. And it was just embarrassing. I think my child is here. I'm taking a class with her and showing her an awful example of psyching yourself out. one of the instructors who was there last year came back for a day here. And I said, well, if I'm ever going to do it, I'm going to do it when he's there. Because he talks. It's a guy instructor, okay? He can talk to me, guy talk. Okay, so he's sitting there next to the trampoline, those long trampolines that you have no concern about going off the end because it's 30 yards long. And he just sees me sitting in this chair position, just frozen. And he's kind of, the class got over, and he's kind of waiting for, we should either do it or let the next class come in. And he had this amazing patience there, and I could tell that the kids were packing out. Most of the families had gone. There was a couple that had stayed around, I guess curious what would happen with this poor man out there. And the young man, he offered, he's 19 years old. He offered to spot me, and I'm thinking, all these, it just seemed like I'd be besieged by arms, and I just said, this is too claustrophobic. Can you just stand there in front of me and stare me in the eyes? Okay, so he climbs up on the trampoline. He's just staring at me, and as I go to do my launch, I just fall back. He said, "You got close. You got close there. I could see it. You were gonna go." And we went through like 4 iterations of that, and then at the end he said, "Can you just visualize? Can you visualize this happening?" I said, "No, I can't. I can't see this happening. There's this darkness. I don't know what's going to happen when I thrust myself." And he said, "Mr. Steve, you've done the preparations. You know that thrusting your legs and swinging your arms and hurling yourself backwards. You know all the preparations there. There's this dark patch. But at the end of it, you've also calculated you're not going to get that hurt. You're on a trampoline, for Pete's sake. What's the worst? You can twist a nail or something." And he's talked to me about how you get so far with your preparations, at some point you just gotta let it fly, and you don't know what's going to happen there. And so after about 10 minutes after the class, finally, whoosh, there I go. I did the backflip, landing on my elbows and my knees, but I was over and I did it. And I, in that moment of ecstasy, I said, no, I'm going to go right back on there. And I did another one, just so it was not a fluke. I ran to that young man. I picked him up, hurled him around. The family in the waiting room was, these families were cheering. Strangers to me were cheering me. It was like a great Special Olympic moment. Okay? I was on a high, and we took them out to ice cream afterwards. We sat around my daughter. I said, I thanked them. I go, the symbolism of what this has done for me. These dark patches we hit, whether we career questions or relationship questions or a skill I want to learn or a Toastmaster club to join. Sometimes you have to do your preparations, figure out where you want to be, and just jump into that dark patch. Toastmaster.